The other day, I spoke with Dr. Larry Lipschultz, and he said that he had a gentleman who had a low PSA test,
Mhm.
and he encouraged him to have a DRE. And when he performed the DRE, he found cancer. Have you had instances like that where you have a patient that had low PSA tests, but through a DRE, you were able to find something?
It's a great point. And, he is a master of urology, a true legend in urology. And he's been around a lot longer than me. So he's definitely done a lot more DREs than I have. But I will tell you from my personal experience, I have not found one like that. And
Okay.
I'm not saying that is not impossible. And obviously it happens on occasion. And you do have a
Yeah.
lot of urologists who are very adamant about giving a DRE. Me personally, I've been biased against it for a while. I'll be honest. I
Okay.
wrote a opinion piece about 4 years ago now saying, is it time to get rid of the DRE? And I was, a lot of people came at me, but apparently the guidelines ended up agreeing with me 3, 4 years
Yeah.
later. So I kind of feel like I have the last laugh there. But I mean, here's my stance. The data shows, if you look back, how many times getting a DRE in the stance of a regular PSA actually has detected cancer. I believe it's like less than 1% of the time. It's not a very high success rate. And when you're
Hmm.
looking at tests, you're taking PSA, which is an objective test, right? It's a number. I
Yeah.
can't make it up. It's not an opinion thing. It is truly a number scaled 1 to infinity. Obviously,
Yeah.
4 being the cutoff for a lot of men under the age of 70. It is a number that I can go by. If I do a digital rectal exam, it is a subjective test. My opinion is it's a little bit hard, or there's a little bit of a nodule. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, right? Most of the time, if there's a very glaring nodule, obviously we will all feel it, but there is
Yeah.
some subjectivity there, right? My
Okay.
finger may not feel what another
Mhm.
person feels. And I think the goal of medicine when we're doing exams and evaluations is to remove the subjectivity of these things, right? I want this to literally be a science. A number is science. Sometimes a finger and how I may feel about something is less so. So while the DRE is still a very, reasonable exam, and, obviously I don't think it's going away anytime soon, I do think that it's not a necessary exam. I am sure, despite that story, it's a great story and it's an important story for us to understand. I'm sure that the other way around has happened many times where a guy with a normal PSA has had an exam for a digital rectal exam that the provider thought was abnormal, and he did
Yeah.
an unnecessary biopsy and resulted in a negative test. And I'm sure that happens honestly way more often than finding a positive one. I don't
Yeah.
have the data, but I'm pretty sure the statistics, I don't have exact numbers, but I'm like
Yeah.
fairly certain that the statistics point that way. Once again, I'm not here to bash the DRE. I am here to tell you that the guidelines have now changed, showing that you do not need to do a DRE, that a PSA is
Yeah.
adequate.